So we're back at y'all. Thanks y'all for coming back to my page. I got a good topic that I want to talk about today. A couple of people emailed me, so I want to kind of touch on some of the bases of what they asked me and kind of get an insight, give them an insight on some of my experiences of my life. One of the emails was like when I was a younger kid, growing up, how did I recognize or how did I acknowledge that or go about choosing, even though I was on the wrong path, they wanted to know like how did I change that path to a new path or a new journey. Um, One of the things that I really acknowledged in my life was, from my experiences of when I was selling drugs, right? I was in a lifestyle that I knew that it was a gamble, you know. But one thing I can understand that when I got shot, right, it was like everything that I had created or built around me, it all crumbled, and it was crumbling right before my eyes, and I could and from even from the friendships, from my environment, my families, um, everything, even money, material things, everything was just crumbling. And one thing that I realized that in that crumble or in that disaster in my life, I realized that everything that I thought was for me wasn't for me. And I realized that that journey that I was on, that I needed to find another way. And I thank God for that experience, because one thing I learned that, because when I was growing up, all I thought about was money and material things. I thought material things identified me, and it made me who I was. And I was willing to die for that, even not even just the material world, right? The type of friendship that I had with people in the streets, it was like I was willing to die for my neighborhood. I was so caught up in the false belief of living in the streets, right? When it came down to me protecting my neighborhood, right, or being a part of my neighborhood, I was willing to die for that. And I took a bullet to the head for that. And in me taking it, now that when I look back at it, right, I look at that. What if I would have died, in that moment at age 21? What if I would have lost my life in 1997? I would have missed all of this. I would have missed everything about my life. I was still a child. So at that moment, I realized that everything that I thought was real, it was all an illusion. So in saying that, right, I need to find a new identity. And on finding that identity, it wasn't easy, because it was hard to attach myself from the streets. And sometimes when you want to take on new journeys, right, you may have people in your life that may not want to go on another journey, and a lot of those people you can't take on your journey, and that's something that I realized, that when it comes down to change, right, you may have friends and family members or people that you used to being around, right, and when it comes down time for you to switch gears, right, or switch journeys, some of the people may look at you funny, because they may be stuck in their old ways, right, and you may feel as though your old ways wasn't making progress for you in your life. And that's what happened to me, right? I realized that me selling drugs, me in and out of jails, me shooting pistols and running the streets and hanging with people that I thought that was 100 with me, right? What I realized in that, right? Like, once I began to change, and let me say this too. When I was in the streets, right, due to me being in the streets and growing up in the streets, right, I really friendship, right? Now that I'm older, the friendships that I had back 20, 30 years ago, right? Now when I look back, those weren't friendships. You know, they was. It was just something. You know, like to me, for me, I feel as though it wasn't friendship. You know, we was in the streets, and because a real friend will support you. You know, a real friend will not entice you to do things that they wouldn't do for themselves. You know, so what I'm saying is that once I began to change, I began to see from another perspective of what that lifestyle and all the people and the environments, that all that stuff that I was caught up in, I come to realize that I needed a new identity. You know,